Back to the Bucharest Major. We just witnessed a great first game of the day, Brax. It was, of course, Optic versus TNC. And now we have our second match of the day coming up. That's going to be Mineski versus Complexity. What are you expecting for this one? Is it going to be as good as the last game?
Well, as they say, that first game was quite the barn burner.
Barn burner. Indeed.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds pretty good.
Neither do I.
Hopefully this next one's also a barn burner.
Yeah, whatever that means. So we'll see. We have a bit before we get into the draft, but you and I were personally talking about Complexity, their fast-paced style. Do you think that's going to play a big factor here in this next game as well?
Yeah, I think a lot of teams don't play so well when the game is accelerated, when the pace is really quickly, when these Tier 1 towers get knocked down so quickly, when a team doesn't really prioritize pushing or farming that much. You know, Complexity I think of as a fast-paced team. They either win quickly or they lose when they hit that wall when they didn't get that big of an advantage.
So you think one way or the other, this game is going to end fairly quickly?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And I think the same can be said about Mineski. They have some weird drafts. We saw yesterday with the Magnus pickup for Ice Ice Ice. They sort of have a similar style in terms of losing or winning quickly depending on how their draft goes. Of course, Ice 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 can go off, or whoever they have playing, they can absolutely destroy in terms of their draft. Sometimes, obviously, it doesn't go as well, but I don't know. I mean,
I just wanted to ask you, would you call that confidence or perhaps arrogance?
Confidence, I think, because it works out for them a lot of the time, to be fair. They haven't quite gotten over the hump and like gotten that major win yet, but they're up there in terms of one of the best teams out there, and I think it works out well for them.
So if they don't win, does that mean it's arrogance?
I don't know. You're asking me hard questions, Brax. I can't answer them here.
Okay.
We have the, of course, featured offlaners, Moo and Ice Ice Ice, two great players to look at. Of course, Moo is the linchpin in Complexity, and Ice Ice Ice, well, we've already talked about him, and probably plenty enough. This guy is one of the best in the world, and for good reason. And it's going to be an interesting matchup in terms of the offlane, Brax.
Yeah, it is for sure. I'm surprised by some of these stats. I would have thought that Ice Ice Ice, when I think of him, I think of like he farms a lot.
Yes.
You know, he takes a lot of time to make sure that he gets to where he needs to be on these heroes, especially when you think like the Timbersaw, for example. Magnus farms a whole lot. But Moo, same thing. He also farms quite a bit.
The thing that doesn't surprise me is Moo's higher kill participation. I know he farms a lot, but he definitely likes being involved, especially on heroes like Beastmaster, things of that nature. So.
Yep, that's true.
So
he's farming to get to that point to where he can kill people.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. You just need
wants to get involved.
Those first few items, then you start running around the map and having a good time. So we're about to get into the game. I think we're still waiting on the lobby right now, but the draft should get underway shortly. Now, in terms of favorites, this is a tough one. Complexity have played well. Mineski, I think, are a very strong team. Who do you favor between these two teams?
So the thing is, I know how good coL is, but I don't know how good Mineski is recently. I'm not sure of their current form as of late. Yesterday they did lose, but they didn't look bad.
Yeah.
They're still very good players. They're still a good team. So it just, for me, depends which team shows up today.
Yeah, that's going to be the question. I mean, we saw them struggle yesterday. Obviously, it's important to note both of these teams lost. They're in the 0-1 part of the Swiss format, something to keep in mind. You lose again here, you're one more game away from elimination. Remember, 3 losses and you're done in the Swiss format, and they're all best of ones, of course, as well.
Mont, I gave you the most generic garbage answer where I said, oh, yeah, both teams can win.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And I turned it. I turned it around for you.
Thank you.
I took it and ran.
Great job. I think coL will win this game, actually.
Okay, that's more of a committal answer than anything else, so
yeah.
Good work,
But then
buddy.
you can also just say I'm biased because I'm North American.
Yeah, well, I know you, and you're not, so it's important to note that.
That's true. I'm not North American.
No, that's... Never mind. We're going to move on. We're going to get into the draft. And Complexity versus Mineski. Already the first 3 bans out for both teams. Guess who's not there, Brax?
Who?
I'll tell you. No, not Tiny.
Well, he is not there.
Well, that's true, but...
Who?
I was talking about the gyrocopter, Brax.
Oh, okay.
Glad we got on the same page there at the end of it.
Oh, I even misunderstood you. I thought you meant like, oh, who escaped the... Never mind. Never mind.
It's fine. The gyrocopter is banned. That's the point I wanted to get across,
okay.
Brax. And it's now taken out of the game.
I see that lion throw. He's not in the game. Look at this, Naga Siren.
So
are we going to see the old Dinosaur Man?
Nope. Disruptor. We have the Marana instead. There's a good chance it gets banned out now, the Disruptor, I would say. Or do you think it's fine to let through if you're Complexity?
I think you ban it.
Okay.
Well, especially with the Naga Siren, probably the next go-to support, right? It just makes the game so easy to play. We saw that big Navi almost comeback. What do you call that? A pre-comeback?
Yeah. A sort of comeback.
An almost comeback?
Almost comeback, yeah.
Okay.
One of those terms is fine.
All right.
Very close. That was a pretty good game. Lil played well on the Naga Siren, excuse me. Of course, didn't really work out for them, but instead Mineski will have it now. Important to note, Mineski actually picked Disruptor in their game yesterday against TNC, and they lost with it, but of course they didn't have the Naga Siren to work with. So obviously they're comfortable with it. Jab's played the Sand King as well, so that's another hero that is available that both of these teams actually like to play as well. So if they want to pick it, they certainly can. It's still available. But instead we have the Tiny Man for complexity. Not surprising. This is another one of those heroes that's going to be picked a lot in this tournament.
This team loves Tiny. They loved him before his tree grab, change and everything. Now he's even better. No surprise to see them pick it up so early. Limp loves his Tiny.
Yeah, that's they're all over it. Now, they picked it before it had these big changes with tree grab and all that stuff. They really love the hero. They always paired it up with the IO a lot of the times as well. But I don't think that'll be the case this time around, as they will have the Tiny, they will ban out the PL, and of course the Sand King that I was just talking about, Mineski have taken away.
Good choice. Sand King's tough.
He is. Such a strong hero. The Blink Dagger initiation potential. He could do so much in terms of the 2-3-man stuns that we've seen with a lot of these Burrow Strikes recently.
Yep, I just like his progression through the game. He starts off as this roaming support, but he's also good with farm and levels. So he eventually takes more of this greedy role, where he pushes out these lanes in dangerous places where most heroes can't survive.
Yeah.
Thanks to the Burrow Strike, Blink Dagger, and Sandstorm and all that stuff. And then he scales through the whole game. It's nice.
Yeah. Once you get that Blink Dagger, it's even better, which can be tough to get to, but again, we won't see that hero, nor will we see the Earthshaker, who's kind of had a resurgence the past few days. I would say Lanham, I saw play it in a qualifier not too long ago, actually, against, I think it was Newbie, and he did pretty well with it. The Earthshaker, one of his go-tos. Obviously, Earthshaker seems to be coming back in the 4 role pretty significantly.
Fantastic hero. He's a cow with a big totem.
I mean, I know you like watching him.
I do. He's so much fun to watch. You can visually see how impactful he is. You know what I mean? Like, big Echo Slam. I wonder why they wanted the team fight. Oh, it was probably the Echo Slam.
Yeah, it was the big Echo Slam coming in from whoever played the hero.
The Fissure hits 3 people. What happened there?
The Fissure Wall. It's just very strong, so they will take it away, and for good reason. The Bat Rider banned out by complexity. We talked a lot about that in Sam H, but of course Mineski can play it too. They will now pick up the Disruptor. It was not banned out. That was the big question you and I had at the beginning of this ban phase, and now it comes through.
Oh,
but
Chen.
There is the Chen Man with the Tiny to send back in the off lane.
The Zookeeper.
Yeah, that's right.
This guy's tough.
He's the Penitence has received a lot of changes over the years. I think it's a very strong ability now. The Q ability, extra damage to work with.
When you combine that with the early medallions that come out on pretty much every Chen player nowadays, it just does so much damage.
It's like no regen, save enough money for the medallion. You have like a smoke in your back or in your inventory, and that's pretty much it. And then you get the medallion, you're good to go.
It comes out so fast, especially if you can get like an early gank off.
Yeah. So the Chen will come out, and this is going to maybe signify some early game pressure. Now, do you go and get more early game pressure with something like a Pugna for complexity, or are you okay with what you have now currently?
I feel like they're definitely going to add some more push into the lineup combined with the Chen. You know what I mean? They want to ride the momentum and just take it all the way to the potential victory screen.
And the thing is, they could do that Moo offlane Pugna. I think they did it yesterday, actually, if they wanted to. They have, they could play the Limp Tiny. They have a lot of options in terms of where they want to lane these heroes.
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind. DK is still in the pool if they want to go for more early tower pressure, if that's something they want to play. For Mineski, they have the Mirana, which is interesting. We actually really haven't talked about this, but with the Naga Siren, you have the Ensnare setup for the arrow, which is nice.
Yep. The sleep setup, too, always guarantees that 5-second arrow.
Exactly.
It's huge for some of these team fights.
But we haven't seen that much Mirana recently, and I think for good reason. This hero's in a weird spot right now, Brax.
She is. She has like this, her progression through the game is just so weird. Not the strongest laner, first of all. So because of that, you have a hard time getting to that mid game where you are strong, because the hero does a ton of damage once you get some levels. But until then, it's not great.
Now the Doom comes out for Mineski.
Oh, that's very annoying.
The big question I have is, where is this played now? It's not really played in the offlane, more of a 4-position role, I believe.
Yeah, we already have a Naga Siren.
Yeah,
Does
so
this
that's
mean
offlane Doom perhaps coming out then?
Wow.
Would be interesting for sure.
Some core Naga.
I have seen like 1-position Dooms kind of a few times. I'm not sure that's going to be what they're going to do with Mineski, considering the heroes they already have.
That used to be so popular in the past.
Yeah.
You get all the early auras, and then Doom would just fight early game.
Yeah.
What happened?
I don't know. He's fallen from grace on Doom, potentially.
This guy just clicks creeps now.
Yeah. He's going to do that a lot more in this game, too, as well, I would assume. But Doom targets, maybe Chen, maybe Tiny. Who do you do in this game? It's not really picked up, like, you're not playing up against an anti-mage. That's when you would maybe pick a Doom just to try to deal with that hero, so.
There's no big key hero that the Doom really counters, right? Like, sure, it's good if you can get it off Tiny before his spells come out, but the way Tiny operates, as he blinks in, stun tosses, it happens instantly, right?
Exactly.
It's pretty unrealistic to be able to get the Doom off before.
Oh,
Out comes the Green Man Viper, Mod's
complexity.
favorite hero.
Well, it used to be. It's kind of fallen by the wayside.
Oh, no.
The changes. I know the changes are good, but
Don't tell Viper that.
yeah, I'm sorry, Viper. I just can't be with you anymore, buddy.
He already lives a miserable life. Nobody likes playing this hero.
Literally everybody I've talked to like just hates this hero, honestly.
Well, you know why? It's just because he's not fun.
Yeah.
He's this non-flashy hero who, I call this the siege tank, right? This hero
Okay.
can't go anywhere. Everyone comes to this hero.
Yes.
And then once your tank falls behind and your tank can't kill people before Viper, dies or whatever, it's useless.
The good news is you have Nether Toxin now, which allows you to farm a lot quicker than it used to.
Yes.
So that's at least something to keep you in the game to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious as to the item build that they're going to go for. I think we saw a lot of Helm of the Dominator builds recently, and also Veil was pretty popular for a while there when Nether Toxin first came out as the new ability that it is.
I think the Veil kind of got phased out. It wasn't actually that good.
Yeah, I agree. So they have the Viper, so that's more, to a certain extent, tower pressure and early game ball-up pressure as well. This hero owns the early game.
It does complement the Chen playstyle very well, doesn't it? Although the problem, or potential problem, with the Dominator build is you're playing against Doom. He might eat your creep. But then you can also say, well, Chen's got 4 creeps too. How many creeps can he really eat?
Yeah, exactly.
He is a hungry guy, but he's got to rest.
He's gotta sit down at some point, finish his meal. Now Complexity will have their 5th pick. Plenty of reserve time for both of these teams. And what are they looking for? They have the Tiny potentially in the offlane. They have the Chen, Ancient Apparition support duo. They have the Viper probably in the mid lane.
This might be Moo's hero still. It could be...
the Limp Tiny, and then you pick the offlane hero for Moo here.
Yes, and Chassis playing the Viper, like in the mid lane, for example.
Yeah.
With Limp in the safe lane.
So what's the hero that you combine up with the other heroes that you have for Complexity?
I don't know, because right now you've got a pretty big problem. How do you fight this Naga sleep combo? Like in the early parts of the game when you're just knocking down towers, sure. Chen creeps, they're going to block the Mirana arrow off the sleep, but you still have the Static Storm issue. I mean, you need something big to be able to team fight these heroes. Because the later this game goes, just team fights become a complete train wreck for Complexity.
Yeah, that's Static Storm, Mirana, Arrow, plus Starstorm, Doom.
Yep.
Doom's Doom, rather. Naga Sleep. The Visage comes out.
Boy.
Well, that hero has had quite the resurgence, I would say.
The Bird Brothers, Visage and Viper.
And they're back. Tell me about Visage. It's a hero that I've not casted a lot of, to be honest, and I think it's in a pretty good spot right now, but what do you think about the Visage, Brax?
So, against the right heroes, seems very strong. We've had multiple changes through this hero where Gravekeeper's Cloak applies to the birds, and the birds have their own damage where they don't need to actually drop them or whatever to reset the damage. It's been through so many changes, but this hero's in a weird place, in my opinion. I think it's very situationally good, right? It has these games where it's fantastic, and then it has these games, well, it's not so great. But, I don't know. I haven't seen enough of this hero to have a pretty good read on it, honestly. But, when you look at the damage and what it can provide to the 5-man group up from Complexity, it looks good, right? What happens when Visage, Viper, Chen, Tiny... What happens when these 5 heroes come knocking on Mineski's door? They have to fight with sleep. And then, if they don't win that fight, they're screwed.
Even if they do win that fight, the Complexity can come right back after the sleep is down. With such a long CD, they can go again.
Yes, they're not playing off these long cooldowns like Mineski will be.
They do have the Medusa to fall back on for Mineski. If they can hold on in the early stages of this game, Medusa can get big and probably take over this one. It's hard to count, and this is exactly what we were talking about, the fast group of style of Complexity, and they do it again with these heroes that they've picked up in this game.
Yeah, and Mineski's only line of defense is being able to take that team fight, and they go for the Medusa, who is... pretty good at team fights if you can actually get these basic items where you don't die instantly.
Yeah.
But still, Medusa wants to click creeps and Complexity. When you look at their lineup, they're not clicking creeps. They're clicking heroes and buildings.
It's kind of that greedy lineup we saw yesterday. Instead of the Dusa, it's the Ice Magnus that was picked up yesterday. So
right. The approach from Mineski is definitely, all right, well, we have good team fight. We're going to sit here. We're going to outscale. We're going to get to a point where they just can't deal with Medusa anymore, and the game's easy. Instead of taking more of a, oh, well, what if we can just, take the team fights for sure. And pick a less greedy carry, right?
Yeah. And it's going to be very interesting. Chessie is going to be on the Visage, the Limp Viper, and it'll be the Moo Tiny coming out. So the draft is done. We're about to get into the game. I don't know. Again, it's that hit or miss timing for Complexity. Is it going to be enough? And do you favor them going into this game and finishing this game off early?
I like Mineski's draft, but that's just because I don't know how strong Visage is actually going to be in this game.
Yes.
You have things like Split Shot, which are going to, clip the birds, take them down, it'll remove the armor stacks as you can just focus the Visage down and everything. And it all just comes down to how well they can actually play these team fights with the song. Because if they catch, 3 or 4 heroes in the Song Static Storm combo, team fight's done.
Yeah.
But if they can't find that opening for whatever reason, Chen creeps in the way, they're actually split up, they get a good flank off, they start the fight first, could be totally different.
Even the early levels not having the song available, because it's too early into the game and maybe complexity or grouping it before that
Right,
is
the
also
action's going to happen real fast with Chen, right?
Exactly. So we'll see how it goes. We'll get into the game. Mineski, they've got the Medusa to fall back on. We've talked about that. It is the Mushi Medusa, a hero that he is really well known for. He's played it a lot.
Well, look at Melon's on the phone. Who do you think he's calling?
I don't know. Maybe his brother.
You're supposed to say Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. Oh, there it is. I like Limp's prank. He's got to pray, and Jesse's just chilling, let me tell you.
He's all business.
Yeah, exactly.
No messing around.
And as expected, Z-Freak will start with a Blightstone at the beginning of this game and try to get to that early medallion, which is certainly going to help the Visage and his birds. It's an item that sometimes Visage will buy, the early medallion into a Solar Crest, and this time Z-Freak might be there to pick it up for him. Something to consider.
Yeah, that's true. So it is the off-lane Doom.
Yes, the Ice 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 Doom, the 3 position, which we talked about.
Yep.
I'm excited for this. I like that Ice 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 has such a wide hero pool. It always makes it for exciting stuff. Jesse also picked up the Blightstone as well, interestingly enough, so they both have one. Good to know.
Yeah.
And for now, Mineski will just drop a ward. They'll play aggressively on the other side of the river and try to snag these 2 bounty runes. In the meantime, Complexity will do the same. They'll have the Tiny grab the top bounty rune, and of course they'll head back and grab the other one.
So how can Tiny pick up the bounty rune if he can barely carry that tree?
I don't know. It's a good question. He could somehow grab it with one hand? I'm not sure.
He just picked up 2.
He's crazy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, this Tiny guy. He's something else. All right, so we'll see how the lanes shape up for now. We have the dual off-lane Doom with the Jabs Naga Siren, so you have the Riptide to help out and try to get Ice 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 a little bit of a better start. This is going to be a Viper versus Medusa matchup in the mid lane. How do you feel about this one, Brax?
Pretty good for the Viper. You can harass the Medusa a lot. It's just Medusa eventually gets enough levels to where she can just farm comfortably with the Snake, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. They both farm creeps.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a big deal.
We'll see if they can get enough of a lead for Chessie in the early stage, or rather Limp in the early stages of the game. They can start balling out of control and getting these towers taken down, but for now, we'll see how things turn out. You have the dual off lane trying to get some farm for Ice Ice Ice. He's got the wave pulled back pretty far. This is going to leave Mu in the top lane with some help coming in from Z-Freak's Chen. I didn't see if he sent back the creeps, but it doesn't look like the wave's in such a position that they did, but
I'm not sure. I wasn't actually watching, but he probably did. Yeah, that's the whole point of this hero, right? Sends creeps back. But there's a bit of an issue. Usually we see these tiny Chen offlanes being able to pressure extremely hard, but that's a Mirana. Good luck killing that guy.
Yeah, the 3 leaps is very difficult. He did go arrow level 1, but he is now level 2, so he will have the leap if he wants it. And they also have the wave pulled back. There's a ward that is going to be here scouting Z-Freak's movements, but the pull is going to be done. And I don't think they can chain it, though, so it'll get pushed back in. Something to consider.
Yep. Tiny will get his basic last hits and some levels, and then Mirana will be fine. But on the other side, for Mineski, they have a pretty aggressive lane here with the Naga Siren and the Doom. Visage, not the strongest early game hero.
Get a couple of levels, though, and get that Soul Assumption up, and it can be a bit tough to stay in this lane.
In Ancient Apparition, same thing, right? What happens when this lane hits level 2? It gets netted up into the Infernal Blade. It's probably a dead guy.
Yeah.
That's fire against the Ice Bot.
Very true, and the
Basic
Song of Ice and
Pokemon.
Fire, exactly. Z-Freak is coming up top. He has the Centaur ready to go. But it looks like they're not going to be able to find anything. Mushi will find a DD in the mid lane, which is nice. That'll at least set him up to get some extra last hits. He's a little bit behind, not by much, but that's to be expected against a Viper.
Yep, early levels are tough, but it gets better.
We'll see which of the safe lanes can find kills first.
It's a pretty big problem that this complexity safe lane is being contested so heavily, right? Visage needs that solo experience for the most part. Very level dependent. Last hit's not doing so hot either.
Yeah.
And it's not like Doom cares if he's at the top of the net worth charts. He's always going to be able to just get what he needs out of the lane.
Yeah, the Devourer will always get you back into the game as well.
Exactly.
He has the Wild Wing now, which is going to give him that extra 3 armor, which is always nice.
Yep. You've got to watch out for that tornado that might come out too, Mom.
The dance.
What? You never know.
The dance of the Doom.
There's a situation for everything. And look at this. Now he's got the, what's that creep? The Satyr Tormentor. Oh, Jesus.
So Z-Freak and Mu made an attempt on top lane, but of course Nana was able to jump away. He even has the salve to work with too. So Leap obviously makes it a lot harder to get kills like you were talking about earlier.
Yep. He can also arrow the Chen creep as it comes in and just kill it off instantly.
Yeah.
So tough stuff.
Cold feet coming in. They use the mirror image, though. Now Kyle's the one getting chased down. There's the Infernal Blade you were talking about. That's the auto attack damage, and that should be enough with the Scorched Earth running as well. So that is first blood for Ice Ice Ice, and he's trying to put some more pressure onto Chessie as well. A lot of damage being dealt. He had Infernal Blade back in 5, but not enough to find that kill. Chessie will stab up. The Shockwave hits him. Oh, that is rough.
Hurts.
He has no regen left. He's level 3, and another Infernal Blade could do some serious work for Ice Ice Ice.
Oh, that's sad. Very, very sad, because look, where can Kyle go, right? He's pretty much committed to this lane. There's not where else he can actually go to do anything. Same thing with Chessie. He's here till he gets his level 6. Nothing's going to change.
I will say good news for Complexity is that they have not just one lane, but 2 lanes going well. Look at the Tiny's last hits, 23-3 at this point. That's pretty significant and pretty far ahead of the Mirana at this point in the game, although yeah, I'm sure it can come back later into the game, and especially now that they have left the Mirana up here alone, he should be able to get back into getting some decent farm from Moon.
Oh, you're right. It's very good, especially since the Disruptor's in the exact same scenario as our Ancient Apparition, right? He's got to be careful of Tiny running at him with potential Chen backup, so there's not a whole lot he can do either.
Mushi had to go home against this Viper, which is not too shocking. Limp is now level 5 with an Aquila and level 3 poison attack, which is really when the damage starts racking up. So they had to give the extra experience to Ninja Boogie, while Mushi now is sitting a level behind that of Limp. And Limp is feeling pretty good. And this is what Viper is supposed to do, though, dominate the lane, and he's doing just that right now.
Yep, doing very well. Oh,
well, they've got the Enchant, they've got the Centaur Conqueror Stomp coming in, a lot of damage. This might be a solo kill for Z-Freak, and it is. That is Chen at his earliest with a Blightstone and Penitence, and a couple of creeps to work with.
And Mushi's got to be careful, too, because he knows Chen's in the area. What happens when this wave gets pushed up from Viper, or if Viper just denies all the creeps, pulls the wave back.
And now Viper has his level 6. He has the Viper Strike. No. He's going to use it. Here comes the Chen. They will drop the Mana Shield, but it's a lot of damage being dealt. They've got the Kinetic Field. The Centaur Conqueror Stomp is there. Mushi already used his Salve. He's in trouble. He's got the Fairy Fire. Won't be able to get it off, and Limp will secure the kill with the last auto attack. And now Ninja Boogie needs to be careful, and Limp is going to be sent right back home. In the meantime, down bottom, Chessie's in trouble. They've got plenty of damage. The Cold Feet will come in. Chessie's got the Soul Assumption charges, but there's the Riptide coming in. And now Ice Ice Ice, no Scorched Earth. He does have a Salve. They need to be careful. He's under the tower. He's taking tower hits. They need to take the tower aggro off use the Salve, but it's not going to be enough. But Kyle will still get chased down, and Jabs will secure himself a double kill. Good for Kyle to make the best out of a bad situation, but it's still going to be 2 dead in that safe lane.
Yep, and then now Ice 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 is going to come back at full HP and continue the train wreck down here.
So at least that lane is going well for Mineski. Z-Freak, though, getting zoned out by Moon. He's going to use the arrow, and it does hit the Mud Golem. The Shard Golems will come out. Z-Freak will still find the Bounty Rune, though. He's up to 800 gold if he wants to build into that medallion. He certainly can. He might need to, as the Visage is still kind of struggling. Although he actually has 25 last hits. He's keeping pace with the Moran in the top lane. Yeah,
he's doing fine. It's just that he always has this Doom guy running at him. That's tough.
Avalanche Toss combination. Nana is still alive. They've got the Shard Golems, but I think they use both of their Boulder Tosses. Meanwhile, Kyle is up the leaps away, and actually Nana might make it out alive, in fact. They might be in trouble on Z-Freak and Kyle. And so that was a good attempt from Complexity, but great play from Nana to get out of trouble there.
You know, Nana has the arrow or potential Starfalls. So.
3 levels of Starstorm at this point. They're all so low. I can see Nana wanting this. He could maybe get Z-Freak and Kyle if he could find an angle, but he might just back up to the tower and stay safe. In the meantime, bottom lane, that is going to be Chessie dead yet again. Ice 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 is running him down. Level 2 Scorched Earth, level 2 Infernal Blade. More than enough damage yet. He's got the Tomato. The Thunderclap is also there.
Oh, man. Rough stuff. I mean, this is the problem, right? They have no really way to assist this Visage, to make sure that this hero has a secured early game. And it's a big weakness in their lineup at the moment, and Mineski are taking full advantage of that.
The Naga Siren actually has the most farm in the game after that double kill down bottom, plus the other kill that he got just recently. So that probably
crazy.
Shouldn't happen for Mineski, but good for them that he has that much farm.
Maybe we'll see him transition into the true carry mod.
We'll see. He's going for Earn now, so...
Well, you know, he's a team player.
Don't keep your hopes up, I think. They're going to rotate mid. They've got the Doom off, but he gets the Viper Strike, and now Ice 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 is in trouble. One more auto attack. He's going to fall. They glimpse back the Viper.
This is so awkward.
But I don't think they can really kill him. They don't do enough damage at this point. He's still tanky and fighting, and Mushi might need to run. They're going to send him back, though. Limp is going to get sent back to the base. Oh. And that is the first Doom used, and to a disastrous effect from Mineski.
Well, that was strange.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They wanted to get the Doom off before the Viper Strike came out, but too little too late.
Yep, Doom has an extremely long cast time, so good luck. It was just so weird. Like, even if they got that, you know, it takes so long for them to actually kill this Viper. He's so tanky, ganking for a Medusa with Nagasara, not a whole lot of damage.
Again, and they bring down Mushi. Limp is having a great time in this mid lane with Z-Freak helping him out now. They've got the Zoo, they've got the Siege Creep as well. They want to try to pressure this tier 1 tower. This is the fast-paced action we were talking about for Complexity. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get the tower. The Thunderstruck will bring the waves back, so it'll only be a little bit of pressure on the tier 1 for now, and we might see a response coming in for the rest of the team.
I'm surprised they're able to defend that so well on the side of Mineski. Like, usually it's a dead tower, right? You managed to kill the enemy mid laner, got a gigantic wave with the Siege Creep and the Chen Creeps, but he was able to just pull it off, and they had the Glyph available. So pretty fortunate.
Limp is having a pretty great time. Treads, Wand, Raindrop, Aquila, now working on Drum. The standard item, it seems, for a lot of these 1 or 2 position heroes.
It's always like, what do I build? Well, I don't want to buy, you know, this big item first. I'll buy little drums.
Yeah, exactly. The filler item, get BKB right after.
Yep.
They've rotated Moo in. They will find Jabs who will mirror image. They've got the Grave Chill. Here come the birds. On the other side, Avalanche. They've got Kyle caught out. He looks like he will die. The Soul Assumption coming in. Jabs still pretty speedy. The toss will do the job, though. It's a 1-for-1. They have cold feeded up Ice, but he's able to get away with the help of Moon. And they will back themselves up. So 1-for-1, not bad. At the very least, Chessie gets involved in that kill, which is pretty big for the Visage at this point in the game.
Yep, Chessie's pretty strong at moments. Is he actually dead?
I think he is.
Wow.
He dies in the well. The healing's not enough. The Viper Strike and level 4 poison attack is significant at this stage in the game.
Limp bringing out the Swedish math skills there. He knew it was going to kill him.
Yeah, he is 4-0 at this point on Limp, the Viper. But this is the start you would expect to have with a Viper against Medusa.
Yeah, it's true. You're in danger if you don't get this
Meantime,
start.
the bird drops, the Avalanche, the Soul Assumption, the toss should be enough, and that's a big kill onto Ice as well. Complexity finding a couple kills across the map. Moon has to leap away from Limp in the mid lane, who is just still going to town on this Viper. 2K lead now, Brax.
Yeah, very sizable lead, especially with no towers being taken. This is a purely, you know, it's all from the lane advantage, right? Pretty good.
And they haven't even taken towers yet. With this Viper, with this Chen.
Exactly. Once we start getting to that stage of the game, it's going to pick up even more.
Jabs is level 6, though. He's holding the point. He has Song available if he wants it. He might need to use it here as he's getting run down by the Chen. He's going to mirror image first. Try to get away. Good Sensor Conqueror. Stop the cold. Feed the toss. That should be enough, and it will be. And that is him going down.
That's so sad. He gets blocked by his own mirror images there.
And they get the Siege Creep. It's a double Siege wave, Brax.
Oh, no.
This tower is not looking long. This thing is going to fall pretty quickly, and they're going to have the tiny just clear the wave. Tree grab, the toss, have a combo.
It's not even fair, 2 Siege Creeps.
The damage is insane. This tower's just dead. And that is the safe lane tower getting dropped down as well, so it really chokes out Mineski's map control, at least in his top lane.
God, when you look at the net worths in this game, it's just, it looks so difficult, right? You have your 4th position, Naga, who's extremely high in the net worth for Mineski's side, but that's not where you want to be. You know, you're playing with Medusa, Doom, Mirana.
And look at the Deuce's farm. He's below that of the Chant. He is forced to jungle after the disaster that was the mid lane.
Yep, in full recovery mode at the moment.
They do have a couple of stacks here. There's an Ancient stack. I don't think he can take it yet.
So the
Mystic snake it, so.
The big problem is Complexity can just keep playing like this. They're going to steamroll from tower to tower, and Mineski are eventually going to have to respond, either in form of a split push, you know, they need to threaten towers of their own, or if they just have to be able to fight. But this lineup with Medusa is not going to be online for quite some time.
They don't have the best tower push, but they are taking the tier 1 in the bottom lane.
Yep.
And Ice has Drum completed too. So they're holding on.
I mean, that's the strongest hero on their team at the moment, right? Ice is Doom with the phase drums, level 8.
Yeah. His Doom is available. They haven't used it since the mid lane matchup where they tried to fight up into Limp. That didn't work out. Now everybody is top for this Radiant team. Complexity are setting up for another bit of a push.
Got Blink Dagger, okay.
Yeah, so that's a bit frightening. You get jumped on, you might just get tossed back and killed by Chessie and Limp, doing so much damage. They'll send the mirror images in, trying to at least clear the creep wave. They'll Riptide, it doesn't do that much. They have another Illusion, and Ice, or rather Moon, excuse me, down bottom is still split pushing. That's the only thing he can do at this point.
You know, the push from Complexity is so slow now because they have to be careful of grouping up for the Song combo.
Yes.
You know, they need to stay spaced, they need to wait.
Avalanche toss, Viper Strike, the Doom's tanky, not tanky enough. He blows up in seconds with Limp and Moo there, and they just destroy him. And now, the Moonlight Shadow will come out. They're trying to set something up. They have to TP back down bottom to defend this tier 2 tower themselves. They will make it. The Ice Blast is getting sailed in, and now Moo looking for Nana. Nana not backing up. There's a toss Avalanche combo. That is a dead Nana. Great setup coming in from Kyle and Moo together, providing that kill.
Very nicely done. And that's why it's difficult to split push against their heroes.
The Ice Blast is so good against that. When you have the Blink Dagger on the Tiny.
Yeah, it gives you that tiny bit of extra damage to actually blow these heroes up.
All right, Limp has finished his drum. He's working on another item, 1,300 gold now. Not sure what he wants to buy next, but it is going to be the Hurricane Pike, so just stock standard for this Viper, at least for now.
Yep, and then now, ever since that these Tier 1 towers inside of Mineski have dropped, Roshan is a bit more available to Complexity. They can do it really early into the game with the Chen creeps, and the Visage Medallion and bird damage, of course.
So he's something coming out on the Courier. I think it is, he's got the headdress coming in for Chessie.
Okay.
So I think he's going to have the helm here in a moment. Yep, there it is. He's picked up the helmet of the Dominator, so now they have an extra creep to work with. They have a zoo. They have Visage Birds. They have Chen creeps. They have Chessie's helmet of the Dominator creep now.
Yep.
Jesus.
I don't think Doom's going to have the appetite needed to kill all these creeps.
Yeah. He's going to be too full, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
And now Ice Ice Ice, he's been slowed down. He was the top net worth hero for Mineski. Now that honor goes to Moon, a.k.a. Nana, who is starting to really come alive, trying to get to an Aghanim Scepter, which I suppose makes sense in this game.
Well, we have this big team fight combo from Mineski, but they're so far behind they can't actually fight with the song into the Static Storm with the arrow follow-up. It's just not possible.
It seems a lot like yesterday's game that they played, right?
Yes. They just haven't hit their timings, right? They're not really online yet with their heroes. They're still in full recovery mode, trying to scrape together whatever farm they can get.
I mean, but the good news is you have a Medusa. You have the late game. You just got to stay alive until that point. The Ice Blast will miss, I think. It does hit, but they need somebody to come in and go for an avalanche. But Moo is not there. He's in the middle of trying to clear the creep wave. But good job for Moon to take the Tier 2 tower in the bottom lane. So he is trying to split push and keep this game going, while Complexity continue to group as 5 and try to take fights in towers.
Yep. Split push is definitely the way to handle this aggression from Complexity. Although they have to watch out for the, we saw the Avalanche into the Ice Blast combo from Tiny and AA, picking off potential split pushers, but, you know, outside of that, there's not much.
When he sees Tiny off the map, he needs to be careful, and I think he knows it too. He actually TP'd because I think he was afraid as they were smoked up, but instead, Complexity, they're about to be in the base. Limp is putting some pressure. The Tier 3, the Visage Birds coming in, the arrows will come through, and it actually misses. That's arrow now down. No way to
trying to arrow the wagon.
Yeah, and the Siege Creep will be fine. They'll bring it back. They clear out the Creep Wave with another Toxin, a couple of auto attacks. They did deward. There was a ward on the high ground that was placed, and now Complexity don't have that high ground vision they would like to have to go for a dive.
You know, Complexity don't have the best tower damage. You know what I mean? Like, for hitting base.
Yeah.
They can surround these towers really easily with all the creeps, but it's a slow siege from the wagons and Viper attacking the buildings.
I mean, it gets a little better when you have the poison attack affects building, but that's level 20 for Limp, and you get to that point, and you might already have Mineski back into the game. So you really have to rely on the Visage Birds and the creeps that you have. But again, fighting into that Song Static Storm combination is tough, even with Aegis.
Exactly.
And I don't think they want to put themselves in that position yet.
You don't want to overstep your bounds and set yourself up for that combo, so they wisely back up. But the good thing that Complexity did there is they brought all of Mineski back to the base, right? Nana was split pushing the bottom lane, forcing him to TP back.
So instead, Complexity will go for something a bit riskier in the Tier 2 tower. They still do a lot of damage. I'm not sure if Mineski want to try to defend this. They did get the Siege Creep, I believe, with an arrow.
These outer towers are just so hard for Mineski to defend because Complexity can always just wrap around them. Complexity is in full control, so they don't know if they have vision behind the tower. It's just not worth it anymore. So they're actually confined to their base at the moment. They can't really leave.
Nana is back down in the bottom lane at the very least. He's getting ever so close to that Aghanim Scepter, and that's going to be even more critical. The amount of damage you can pump out with a Static Storm on top of that,
yeah,
it's significant. If Mineski are able to win one significant fight, that gives Mushi more than enough farm to get back into this game. He's only got a Dragon Lance right now, obviously, but they're 1 or 2 big fights away from getting back into this game.
Yep, if they can potentially take any fights, it'll buy them enough time to, you know, get back in the game a little bit.
They'll find Kyle, not the target they wanted, but it's a kill nonetheless, and he will fall. It will go to Ice 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 with the Scorched Earth and the Infernal Blade coming out. He actually didn't even use the Scorched Earth. It was just the Infernal Blade that did the damage.
A much-needed pick. They need anything just to keep this game going where Complexity can't run down lanes and just knock down these towers, because these last 2 outer towers for Mineski are just free gold, essentially, for Complexity.
So with this Aegis that Limp has, how much do you want to get done? You'd theoretically like to take high ground. I don't think that's going to happen. Do you just hope to get the last outer towers for Complexity? And
it feels unrealistic to be able to approach high ground with this Aegis, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's probably just going to be the outer towers, and then Complexity will try to control the map and outfarm.
Yeah. Keep this bottom lane pushed in, I think, is a big thing, because that's where
Yes.
Moon's been making his home.
Exactly. Once you take that away from Mineski, where can they really farm, right? Complexity can easily march on into the jungle, ward everything up.
So
Jabs is actually going for the carry nog.
He actually transitioned.
Yep, he's got 2,500 gold.
He's saving up, yeah, for the relic.
Yep.
Something we haven't talked about. You talked about it. I was not sure he was going to be able to build into that, but he seems to be confident, and that's
it's
another
very
thing
rare.
Yeah, it is nowadays, isn't it? It seems strange, but
it's quite desperate.
If you can get to that Radiance at the very least, you make things a little harder for Complexity, and now you have to deal with another core on top of it. So that's something to keep your eye on if you're Complexity, but if they can get there from Mineski, more power to Jabs. I mean, he's had a heck of a game so far with the kills he's had bottom lane.
He's had such a fantastic early game. He might be able to get to that point where he is online, but the thing is, it takes away a lot of farm for your team, but it also buys your team more time by keeping all the lanes out, right? So it's good and bad, because then there's less farm for Medusa, but usually it's farm Medusa couldn't get anyways.
Yeah, true.
But then you got a lot of heroes that want to hit creeps on the same team.
I mean, Nana especially. That's the hero. And he has his Aghanims done, and this might be the fight. If they can take it, the Aegis is down at 15, and if you're Complexity, you might want to back away now.
My goodness, the Big Bird Tornadoes.
They have the Aghanim Scepter on the Chen, something to consider. They're going to back themselves up, and I think this is smart for Complexity. This Aegis is gone soon. And now the question is, can Mineski hold on? They're going to smoke. They know this Aegis is going to be done in a moment. They're going to try to find a pick. Moo might be the target. They're going to head over to the top lane instead. They think that there's going to be a hero TPing back to that top lane, and they're going to try to go on him there, I think.
Yep, they're going to set up preemptively because someone's going to come farm this and now push it, right? Look at that. They're pinging it out. Somebody's TPing in already. Oh, this is
They scanned it, yeah.
Jesus, my eyes are so bad.
The Dire scan, they don't find anybody there. They're still setting up. They really want to find this. Complexity aren't taking the bait. They're still farming together at this triangle camp for the Dire side. They only saw Mushi farming. They saw the split shot. That's all they were able to see. So they maybe know something is up. Now they're probably going to see Mineski are pushing top.
It was really good of Complexity not to leave the area, right? By staying there, they keep in control, right? They can push this lane. They see these the split push shenanigans going on top lane. They can honestly just walk down mid, attack the tower a couple times, back up, and Mineski are going to immediately TP back to defend.
And I like the Ice Blast coL keeps throwing out too, so they can't continue to push as hard, especially if it hits Nana. Blow up the creep wave too.
Oh, we get the toss back. There it is.
And they need to find the skill, but the Stone Gaze will come out. That has been used. Good usage of the Familiar Stomps. They've got the Doom now. That's under the Viper, but he's going to be fine one way or the other. He also got glimpsed. Mushi is out of mana. There's the Ensnare. Moose trying to fight this. The Viper's mute will be done in a second here with this, of course, this Doom still going. He's just going to walk up to the high ground. I don't think he's really concerned. They still have to deal with the Song of the Siren Static Storm, something to consider. As long as they can be wary of that, that's something that they can maybe avoid, but also the Star Storms of Nana doing a lot of damage. Limp is getting low. They need to send him back, and he's in trouble. They use the Hand of God. There's the Glimpse coming in. There's Static Storm, the Force away. Limp's still low, but the send back is there. In the meantime, though, Moon trying to man fight in that Static Storm. He tosses the Siege Creep. He will fall, and that's a great fight so far. Ice is looking for more. coL about to get sent back as well, and it looks like he should make it away, but the Chen, Z-Freak might not be so lucky getting chased down by Ice. And they just need one Infernal Blade, one Ensnare. They will find that Ensnare. They have the Thunderstrike available for Ninja Boogie. He actually used it. It's on cooldown. He has no mana for it. The Riptide will come in. Z-Freak trying to find Ninja Boogie. One or two more auto attacks might be able to do the job, but he pops the Shrine, and that will be Z-Freak getting caught and killed. That is a big fight. They get two for Mineski, and that keeps them in this game, Brax.
It looked good from Complexity with the toss back in the beginning. They banned all these spells, but they just went a little too deep.
Yeah.
You know, unable to finish off these targets, and even if they do commit heavily, got to catch on the coL too.
That's an arrow. coL in trouble, about to get caught. This is another big pickup from Mineski. They're getting more room now. They're getting out of the map, out onto the map, and trying to find some more map control, and they will do just that by getting that kill.
And Jabs has a relic now.
It's
getting scary.
For Complexity, absolutely. Mineski, they have the relic now. They have a Blink Dagger that they just purchased on Moon, who now has an Aghanim Scepter along with that. And Mushi is getting more time. Yeah, Mushi's still a little ways away. But Mushi actually is up there. He's right behind Moon. They have kept this game even, and this is where it gets extraordinarily scary for Complexity.
I think Complexity are in trouble already. Yeah. They've just lost so much momentum with that failed high ground push. Medusa is extremely farmed now. Same thing with Mirana.
They did get the tier 3, so the shrines are open and available. And they'd like to get more if possible. No roast for another 50 seconds, though. If Complexity can get Aegis and Cheese, they can still try to finish this game off, but Mineski are so strong right now. It's so difficult for Complexity to try to get high ground still.
Yep, that's the next big objective for sure, being able to get that Aegis and Cheese, but it's still pretty far away.
Yeah.
Well, not really, but still. You're against the clock here, right? Naga Siren is like, 45 seconds off finishing this Radiance.
With the Manta first. The hotly contested build. Manta first. Yeah, I guess he had the Dragon Lance as well as the Ogre Club to work with, but he picks up a full Manta now in Mushi.
What does that help him with? He can dodge out the Viper Strike and remove the Grave Chill from Vistage. And he can remove the Penitence too.
It's good extra damage as well to have.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good this game.
Now, this lead has dwindled. What was almost a 7,000 net worth advantage is down to 2 for
That's quite problematic
Complexity.
once you lose momentum with a lineup like this when you're playing up against such heavy late game.
We haven't even seen a Song Static Storm yet. We talked about it so much in this game, and it just hasn't happened, and it doesn't feel like they need it yet.
Which is crazy.
Right. It's pretty insane. Starstorm coming in, the Avalanche, they almost get the Visage Birds, can't quite find all of them, and Moon will have to back himself up. He has a bottled DD rune, which is a bit frightening. He's level 15 as well, so he has the -5 second.
Look at how Moon's playing. He can just split push freely. The Aghanim Scepter helps him wipe out these creep waves instantly. Very useful.
3K lead for Complexity, but this next Roche is critical, and they need to take it now. They're already in the pit. They're going to go ahead and try to start it up. They have the Solar Crest. They almost have the Aghanims for Chessie. He's about 1,000 gold away from getting it.
You weren't kidding about the zoo.
Oh, yeah. Ancient Black Dragon, Double Birds. There's Illusions. I don't know. There's Visage Illusions somehow. Yeah, I guess he got an Illusion Room, which is nice, but they've got everything, man. Let me tell you.
Well, this is the big timing for Complexity where they desperately need to crack the base. Right, one lane of racks against a team like this, it's not enough. You know, you need to be able to fight. And look at this, Naga Siren Radiance in the bottom lane. Good luck dealing with that.
Jab's Radiance is now done. He also has an Urn on top of it. This is where things get tough. They're going to try to go for a fight. They have found the Miranda, the Soul Assumption. He's dead. He does have buyback, down for 55. That's a big kill. But it's not the end of the world for Mineski at this point. Viper will try to walk up to the high ground and do some damage, but they don't have backdoor protection yet disabled, so something to consider.
Yep, look at that creep wave way back there, so they know they have time.
They might not even be able to force out this buyback. Even if the wave was there, I'm not sure they could either, because Naga is split pushing the bottom lane. They might have to TP back at some point in the near future.
You know, this Medusa, if she just sits on the high ground, she's extremely difficult to get past as well.
Stone Gaze is up and available. She's level 16 now, so he has the extra 20% Mystic Snake Mana Steel to work with, along with 20 extra damage from the first talent. Limp is going to try to do some damage to Mushi, but it's not the beginning of the game where Limp was owning. There's going to be the Avalanche toss back. They have found Ice Ice Ice. He is pretty tanky. They use the pendants. He gets blown up, dead for 52. They have the Ensnare to Limp, but he has the Aegis to work with. The Static Storm move links right into it. Actually, I think he comes back. They're going to try to send him home. The Stone Gaze, can he get out in time? He can. Viper's in trouble, but again, he has the Aegis to work with, and now there's Moon coming in. They get off the Hand of God, still keeping him alive. Limp will back himself up, and they actually don't lose anything out of this, including the Aegis, and they do a lot of damage to that tier 3 tower, Brax.
Oh my god. Nobody died.
Z-Freak played that pretty damn well, let me be honest.
Yeah, the sandbags were key, and Limp saves the Aegis too. Now they can just go again. No Stone Gaze for 60 seconds.
So Limp heals up, he TP's back in. They still have the Aegis for another 3 minutes or so.
Yep, no Static Storm too for 45. And Jabs is in the base, so he's unable to split push. They have to be able to fight this Complexity in a dominant spot.
They have to wait 40 seconds. They still have the Song available if they want to try to keep their base alive if it comes down to that. If they kill Nana again, it might be enough for Complexity to get a full set of racks and maybe even more. Kinetic Field will come out. They've got the Ensnare. Limp's just going toe-to-toe with Mushi at this point. He's starting to take a lot of damage. He needs to be careful. Again, he still has that Aegis to work with, but he doesn't want to lose it for free. The tier 3 will fall, but it's not the racks. Not yet, anyway. They've got the Visage Birds. There's the Glimpse back, but Limp is still fine. They'll earn him up. The Toss Avalanche combination is going to come, and there it is onto Ice Ice Ice. And he just died. He's about to fall. The Song is not in time. He's dead for 50, and now they still don't have the Static Storm for 5 seconds. They can't use it to set anything up, and they might lose racks here. Mushi, still no Stone Gaze available. This is problematic. The racks going down. Moo, another toss back. This could be huge. Can they bring him down? The Viper Strike. He mantis it off. He's still trying to run. There's the Static Storm, but not enough, and Limp's going to die in the base at the tier 4s. Mushi's getting low, but not low enough. They will keep him alive. He will be sent back to the well. He's ticking down to the urn, but he's fine for now. He was sitting at about 50 HP. The racks going down. Complexity have broken the base. Can they get more? No Doom for another 20. Does Limp still... Is he still fine? He's got the Aegis somehow. Limp unbelievably staying alive in what was once looking very dangerous for Complexity. They were able to finish off a full set of racks, Brax.
And that's the exact timing they needed. They needed to be able to crack the base with that second Roshan. And they did. I mean, the way they're playing the fights is just so good. Limp is sitting there in the front line, tanking up everything. He knows he's not going to die. He still has the Hurricane Pike available in almost all these fights, waiting to just bait everything out. And with the Chen Sen back, I mean, nobody's dying. And then they always get the clutch tiny tossbacks, too, to start off the fight. Very nice.
The Moo and Z Freak show. Limp's been pushed up there as well. And, of course, you can't forget Chessie's impact with the Visage Birds. He's just been trying to siege slowly but surely, and now they have that big net worth lead back in their favor. It is a 7K lead. Once was 8K just a second ago. But it's still dangerous. One set of racks, like you mentioned, it might not do it against Mineski with the lineup they have currently.
All right, we take a look at Medusa's net worth. Still quite massive. When Medusa hits that level 20 talent as well, the plus 700 mana gives her so much survivability. It's an extremely large power spike, so the game's not done yet.
They still have trouble killing her, as we just saw.
Yeah, it takes a long time, right?
Something to keep in mind for Complexity. They're happy that they got that one set of racks, but they're backing up now. They're keeping the waves pushed out. They might want to go again soon. They will still have, I believe, the Aegis for another little bit, but not much longer.
40 seconds. But yeah, they've picked up a lot of new items now, too, on the side of Complexity. Tiny, BKB picked up, so the fighting gets a bit easier. But it looks like they're just going to march down a lane again.
Yeah, they're going to try. There is no tier 3 in the bottom lane, 2 sets of racks. That's where things get a little bit tricky for Mineski. And they have the illusions of Mushi trying to cut the creep wave. But they might not be able to do it. They're actually going to fall before they can really get too much damage on the creep wave in the bottom lane.
Yep, look at that. Full AC picked up on Limp's Viper now.
And they've already taken down Ninja Boogie. He is dead for 46. That's no more Static Storm, no more Glimpse. You will now have to set up to defend here if you are Mineski. This is tough, 4 versus 5. And
that's their combo.
These buildings will fall very quickly. The birds coming in. They'll drop the Veil. They're going to go for the toss back. They've found the Naga Siren. They've got the Viper Strike, and he's in trouble and dead. He has buyback. The Aegis is going for Complexity, but they will take another set of racks. This fast-paced style is working out for them. Now 2 sets of racks ahead, and they'll be about 10K up as well. The Starstorms, there's the buyback of the Naga Siren. They have, of course, that Disruptor up in 13 seconds, and Complexity, they're so close they can taste it in terms of getting this game done.
Yep, very nicely done. That's the toss back spawn. Whoever gets tossed back is done for.
Yeah. It's so tough to play up against that, too.
It is.
What can they do to save the hero that gets tossed back? They have to Song, maybe, a Static Storm, Kinetic Field.
Yep, but then you waste your combo in a position that you may not want to have used the spells, right? What if they're not grouped up when that happens? Well, then you've essentially used your entire team fight to save someone instead of take the fight.
And where's the Doom been during all of this? We've seen minimal amounts of Dooms coming out in the past few minutes, I would say, during these fights. Maybe dead sometimes.
Doom takes about 3 seconds to cast mod, so it's just not going to happen.
He's got to wind it up, you know, it's like a baseball bat.
He pulls it out of his back pocket. That's what he does.
He's got to go all the way back there.
Yep. But yeah, no Blink Dagger, no Shadow Blade. You're not going to really be able to cast Doom on these targets except for whoever's in front of you, and that's only been Viper lately.
Yeah. And I don't think really Limp cares that much, to be honest.
Exactly. It doesn't actually do anything to him.
He's so tanky. He's up to 1900 HP. He's got the AC to work with. Now, the question that I have is, Brax, is do you wait for the next Roche if you're Complexity, or do you just try to keep going?
So, ideally, you would like to, but you need to be able to close off the map while you do it. Like, we have this ward down bottom from Complexity, which sees people coming pretty much through the mid lane and the bottom lane, right? Anywhere to get to the enemy jungle. And you need to be able to just limit how much they can farm, because look at Mineski. They're confined to their base. Keep them confined for as long as possible.
With the exception of Mushi, who's still split pushing.
Yep.
And this is what they have to do.
The biggest thing coL don't want to do is run into the high ground and lose the fight. That is pretty much the only thing that can swing this game at the moment.
Yeah.
Right? If they lose that crucial fight, then Mineski are going to cash out on these large bounties, and game keeps going.
Even with 2 sets of racks down, just that one fight might be enough to get Mineski back into this game.
Right, what happens when we toss another item on top of Medusa and Naga Siren, right?
Yeah.
Medusa just picked up the BKB. What happens when she hits level 20 with the Eye of Scotty, for example? Probably not going to die. Naga Siren, same thing, Mantis Style into the Octarine.
Even Mirana now working on a Dagon.
Yeah.
They need more burst to that. That's how they're going to find it.
That's right, and with only the tiny stun being like their initiation, right? Mirana can blink in the back lines, blow up the Ancient Apparition, cause a bunch of chaos in the fights.
All right, Mineski are smoked up trying to find a fight right before Roche respawns. Let's see how long it's going to take. Another 2.5 minutes. Even if they are to win a fight, they won't be able to get Roche. But Complexity are staying together on the high ground. They're in a perfect position. It seems they know something is happening here. They will send the Viper out. They need to be careful in that regard. He can get doomed. He does have the Hurricane Pike, though, if he does not.
Yep, and then with the Chen being so close by, it's pretty unlikely they'll be able to burst him, but you never know. There is a Veil on Mirana.
They do have the Purge on the Doom.
Oh, that's right.
The Dispel.
That is very true.
So that's something to consider against Z-Freak.
Yeah. They can purge the sandbag. Well, now they can't because he's got the Alpha Wolf.
He just said, okay. I mean,
well, Alpha Wolf's still pretty good.
Yeah, you need some more damage. That's fair. Still. It is going to be a tough few minutes for Mineski and for Complexity. Of course, waiting on Roshan. Minute 40 left. Bottom is pushing in pretty heavily for Mineski. They will have some chip damage in the tier 3. This tier 3 is actually taking a lot of damage bottom, but in the meantime, the fight will break out back over the other side of the map. coL is dead instantly. Hand of God comes too late. They will use the Sonic, or rather the Song of the Siren. They get off the Doom onto Chesty. This is so far going pretty well for Mineski. Viper still full HP. Z-Freak now getting run down. There's the Static Storm, and they've caught the Viper. Z-Freak is gone, and so too might be limp here if he's not careful. They have the toss. They've got Moo. He's got his BKB going. The Doom is still up on Chesty, but he's able to fight at the very least here in a moment. Jab's getting run down, but Limp getting ever so low. So far, nobody dead for Mineski. Mushi getting low. He's out of mana, and he's dead to the Soul Assumption. Dead for 74, but they do get the Viper. Not a bad fight so far for Mineski, and they will back up happy with what they've got in that engagement.
Yeah, 1 for 3. That's a pretty good deal last time I checked.
Yeah. They do use a lot of their ultimates. Doom, I believe, was used along with the Song of the Siren. All of those abilities now down for a little bit of the time.
Yep.
And this is as Roche is respawning here in a few minutes, but luckily enough, Viper is still dead for 53 seconds, so.
Yep. So Medusa, let's see, almost at that level 20 talent. And that is huge. Once you get that plus 700 mana, you get so tanky. Oh, jeez. You know, they brought out the sleep combo into the Stone Gaze, and then Limp got caught in the Stone Gaze and in the Kinetic Field and Static Storm combo, and he actually melted.
And now you can see that he is, in fact, going for a BKB, which I was surprised he didn't have during that fight, but now he'll have it pretty soon.
Right, against the sleep combo, you expect to have a BKB, but
poor coL got blown up, and the Hand of God couldn't even save him.
This fight's all over the place.
It's crazy, yeah.
Out comes the Stone Gaze.
Z-Freak got ran at too. They did a really good job of bringing him down. Z-Freak actually bumps out a lot of damage in these fights, surprisingly enough, with the heroes that he's got in the Penitence as well. So
yeah, Penitence is fantastic.
So Roche is up. It looks like the Radiant are aware. They have an Ogre Frostmage scouting it out for the Chen creep. So they can try to head back into Roche. Maybe they want to try to find a fight or get some wards down. They do have some good vision close to the middle lane.
Yep, they just want to make sure they have the lanes pushing so that there's some sort of pressure that Mineski has to respond to.
This thing will probably die pretty quickly. You have AC, you've got Chesty with the 3 birds, you've got a Solar Crest.
So
Moo does so much damage, this thing is just dead. I don't think Mineski are going to be able to make it there in time. Even they do have Song back up. They're going to try to run in that direction. It actually might be pretty close here. They have Song up, but they're not there in time. And Roche is gone. Aegis is going to be picked up by Limp. He needs to get a spot. They have Cheese still there. They will grab it. They have the Guardian Greaves now up. Now Mineski are still here. They found Mushi. The Avalanche onto 2. The Doom in trouble. He's going to get bursted down and dead. They have the BKB going from Mushi. They have the Static Storm not doing that much. Maybe they find coL. He's getting low at this point. The day it comes, coL will finally... No, he gets sent back. Unbelievable. And they found another kill on Donana. Now he's dead for 72. The Song comes out, but it's too late. They cannot save their Mirana. And Jabs will have to run right on away, but Moo is chasing him right down. The Avalanche will miss. They've got the birds there. The Penitence going and the toss as well. The auto attack damage is there from Limp. It's 3 dead for Mineski. And this is Complexity's opportunity, their chance to win this game and finish it off.
Man, Mineski choosing to take that team fight after Roshan has already been killed shows the level of desperation, right?
Yeah.
If they give Complexity time to properly set up in front of the base, then fight's even harder, right? They need to try to take the fight where it's chaotic, where these heroes are in awkward positions after they killed Roshan, because it's their best shot. And now, with 3 dead, I'm not sure how they can defend this at all.
They have no buybacks on these 3 heroes. They have Aegis, they have Shard, and Cheese all still available for Complexity. They didn't use them in this fight, and they will now take Megas at this point. And for Mineski, it's dire. They're about to go down 0-2 in the Swiss format, 1 game away from elimination if they can't bring this back. And boy, it looks hard. They'll pop the Crimson Guard. They'll jump in onto Ice. He gets forced away, luckily enough. That'll keep him alive. The Ice Blast will miss as well. They need to be careful. The Crimson Guard doing a lot of work here, actually. They need to be careful that they don't dive too deep for Complexity. They can always back off and go again. Mushi trying to do what he can with the split shot. But at this point, they're going to lose this tier 4 now that, of course, the Crimson Guard is done. I'm still going to work. He's doing some serious damage. He does have the poison attack affects buildings. I talked about it. They actually did get to that point.
Yep,
and
it's good.
It is seriously doing some work against these towers.
What happens when Complexity just siege properly, right? Limp in the front lines with all the creeps, and everyone just sits behind him. They have to go on him. He's got the Aegis. There's a potential Chen send back, too.
He can always get the Cheese put on him as well, if they need to. And he's got a Hurricane Pike, so he attacks from quite the distance. He is low on mana, something to consider.
Well, you know, he's got a Clarity going.
Yeah, true. The classic clarity. It's got to get canceled. Mystic Snake comes down and steals all of his mana away.
Well, he's got the Blade Mail, too. So.
Avalanche coming in. They're looking for the toss back, but now they get off Dementia Style just in time. The Doom is there, and actually Moo's in trouble, and he's going to fall.
Okay.
Down for 75. Now that comes back to the kinetic field as well. Limp's in trouble, too. No BKB has no Hurricane Bike, but the send back is there in time. Tiny will buy back. Chessie needs to back himself away. Everybody else getting out from Complexity. But that is a buyback from the Tiny, so good work from Mineski to get that kill.
Bit of impatience coming out from Complexity. All they have to do is wait for these Mega Creeps to start rolling into the base, and, you know, game plays itself at that point.
Yeah, you just got to get a couple of auto attacks onto the buildings at some point, but...
Yep. They are so far ahead, though, that it may not matter, but slight misstep on their part.
I think they want to go now that the Doom is down. They used it on Moo in that engagement. They still have to look out for the Song into Static Storm combination, which, of course, is up.
Yep. I think the big one for me is the Arrow, getting that long duration stun, but with the Chen send back coming on top, it usually doesn't matter.
And snare onto Limp, the Starstorm will go. He pops the Viper Strike onto Mushi, but Mushi seems to be fine. He's still got plenty of mana and HP, although now still getting a little bit low. The Ice Blast is about to come in. He will force himself out of it, luckily enough. The Tier 3, or Tier 4 rather, taking a lot of damage. But there's that Crimson Guard. It might keep it alive for a little bit longer. Perhaps not. Limp does too much damage against these buildings, and now he's going toe-to-toe with Ice Ice Ice. He needs to be careful, though. He still has an Aegis, still out of mana. The Ensnare will come in again. They really don't want to try to commit on him, but they want to get this Aegis done. The Guardian Greaves come out. They can send it back. The Song will go, and that will set this up. They're going to try to find two. They have two available, but they're going to go on the Static Storm. They've got the Chen. They've got Chessie. They're so tanky, though. They're not really taking that much damage.
The Limp's still alive,
with the Radiance. Now the Hand of God comes out. Z-Freak's still fine. Limp is going on to Ice Ice Ice. They have to buy back on the Disruptor. He's going to come back into the fray, but Mushi's getting low. They've already lost two. It's going to be Naga as well buying back or having to back up. Of course, they lose the Mirana, they lose the Mushi, Medusa, and that they will lose the game as well.
Wow.
What a game.
You know, systematic, right? We have the Chen. We've got the Tiny. We've got the Viper, and even the Visage. Just rolling down from tower to tower, taking objective to the next objective. It was some nice, clean, smooth gameplay. You know, it was like the script.
They went down the script for sure, but we got a little bit worried once Jabs started getting towards that Radiance.
Yep.
Mushi was top net worth. Complexity, they didn't bat an eye. They got the next Roshan. They were able to take a couple of fights, some very big fights, in fact, and they were able to win the game. And they did it in that fast fashion that we were talking about. I mean, they had the racks pretty early on, and then they got the 2 sets, and then at that point, the game was essentially, they just needed to get Roshan, and they sure did. So,
all right.
We'll see how it went down. And you could see Limp was a big factor on this Viper. Did a lot of damage early on into the game. They blew up Ice 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 in this fight. The tree grab doing so much for Moo.
It's just so hard to deal with this Viper when he's got the Aegis with the Chen sitting behind him. Like, you can't commit heavily on this hero because then you just set yourself up for the Tiny combo. And then in the end, you're still not even going to kill a Viper. It's a mess.
And while you're always focusing this Viper and this Tiny, you always had Chessie in the back line throwing out Soul Assumptions, throwing out the Visage Birds, the damage coming in that regard. There's so much to deal with for Mineski. It almost feels like it's too much. The Chen creeps as well.
Yeah, it's truly the zoo.
And there's another fight. Mushi getting low. Don't think he ends up dying here. They had the Urn on him. He got low, and the Nether Toxin bringing him down, but it wasn't enough to get the kill. And Mushi, he did his best. I mean, he was on top of the net worth for most of the game at the end there.
I mean, he had a horrendous start where he was extremely pressured, and he came back into this game with huge net worths and everything, but this was such a crucial fight, honestly. Like, they managed to get their combo off. It looked pretty decent, you know, but not enough.
And that combo that we talked about, the Static Storm, the Naga Siren, it's the second time we've seen it in this tournament, and it hasn't worked out. Navi picked it yesterday. Again, they almost came back.
You know, they just fell so far behind that they couldn't get into a position where they could take fights.
Yeah.
Right? Because Complexity, the Viper's so farmed, he's not going to die. With the support of the Chen sitting behind him too, Viper just sits there and solo sieges the tower with the creeps. What are you actually going to combo? You know, there's nothing there.
And there's always that threat of Moo jumping in and getting a toss back. We saw it numerous times in this game. We even just saw it there, the toss into the air, just bringing down at Doom. And Ice 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 was dead for a majority of this game, I felt like. He had only maybe 2 or 3 Dooms throughout the entire game.
Yep.
None of which really felt that effective other than the time they killed Moo at the end of the game when they were already down Megas.
This was pretty much the last desperate fight of the game. You know, enemy team takes Roshan, but hey, we need to try to take the fight here before they position properly, or else pretty much this happens. Creeps roll in, and what can you do? All they do is sit in front of each other and click the buildings. Who do we go on?
The Crimson Guard did its best, but Mineski, they were fighting an uphill battle at this point. So I mean, that's Complexity taking the game. They're now up to 1-1 in the Swiss format. And I think the bigger story, Brax, the very important story here for Mineski, they are now down 0-2 in the Swiss format. They are 1 game away from elimination.
That's rough.
That is really rough. Now, of course, comebacks have been made before from, worse deficits, I would suppose, but it's still pretty difficult. It's looking pretty bad for Mineski now.
It's not the ideal scenario. It's not exactly where you'd like to see yourself.
So they certainly could come back, but this game does not help them, obviously. Complexity taking the win. Now we get to talk about our favorite subject, Brax.
What's that?
MVP. What are you thinking, buddy?
Oh, that's interesting. I have no idea, Mott. I think that Complexity, they won as a team. They all played their role, some less flashy than others, like Chelsea's Visage, for example.
Yes.
Not the most interesting, but stable.
It's hard for me not to pick Limp, but I mean, he kind of had an easy game because of Z-Freak, because of coL, because of Chessie. Maybe Moo?
So do you give the MVP to the people that made the game easy for others to succeed, or the people that,
But we have to give it to one person is the issue.
This is tough.
I mean, I think Moo played pretty well. I think it's Moo, to be honest.
Okay, sure. The tossbacks and everything.
The tossbacks were critical. As much as Limp did in terms of, the team fight and getting up front and just taking the towers and just being the guy to pressure that you had to bring down. Moo was the one that jumped in. He got the tossbacks. He got the big kills they needed in order to win the game. But I think it was mostly a team effort for Complexity, but I would give it to Moo. So.
Okay, that's fair. I can agree with that.
So real good stuff from Complexity. They will sit at 1-1 now, and we'll see who they play in the match tomorrow. But 2 great games so far. One a little bit longer than the other. We had a couple of rapiers in the last game. This game, pretty straightforward. Like you said, Complexity went down the checklist.
It felt like Complexity played their own game.
Exactly.
They did exactly what they wanted to do at every stage of the game. It felt like another game for them.
So then what do you do to stop this Complexity-style play that they're currently showing off in this game?
Well, Mineski almost had the right approach, right? When you look at their first 4 picks, they think, oh, okay, they're actually going to be able to fight when Chen comes to contest these towers. They got the Mirana, pretty, like a semi-carry that's strong early on into the game, right? Similar to the Gyrocopter. But then you throw out the Medusa, and it's like, okay, well, I guess if they can last, until 30 minutes or whatever, the Medusa will actually be useful, and they can hold a bit, but it just feels like too many conflicting ideas. You have to commit extremely hard for this all-in sort of strategy, and if you can beat them in the mid-game, then that's all you really need to do, right? But then out comes Medusa, and you're playing 2 different ideas.
Yeah, Medusa comes in, and then things get a little bit tricky for Mineski at that point. Pretty good lane for Ice. They did about as good as they could have done in that bottom lane.
They did
got
pretty
some
well.
Good kills, but overall it wasn't enough to give them that lead that they needed. So Complexity will move on to 1 apiece. So Brax, that's it for us, my friend.
Yeah, we had 2 great games.
Yep.
Exciting Dota.
Yep.
And God,
I think it's Liquid versus EG next. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
Yes,
I believe it is Liquid versus EG.
I think you're right.
And we will have a great pair of casters coming up next. That'll be Toby and Purge, I believe, coming through to cast Liquid versus EG. One of the hypest matches of the day. That is super exciting, Brax. Are you looking forward to it, my friend?
I am. I'm just so sad the last game we didn't get to see any big Naga sleep combos into the Static Storm or anything. It's just so satisfying to watch.
Maybe this next game coming up.
I hope not. Nobody likes to see Naga.
Okay. Well, we'll see one way or the other. We will take a break. We'll have Toby and Purge for you with Liquid versus EG next. Stick around, guys. We'll be right back.
Ready. Steady.